All right, today we're tackling one of the biggest shifts in human history, maybe the biggest. We're talking about the moment we went from chasing our food to, well, growing it. This is the story of the revolution that literally changed everything.
Okay, so let's try a little thought experiment. I want you to imagine that your grocery store was always on the move. Seriously, your entire life, your main job every single day is just tracking down where the food is. No fixed address, no aisles, just out there somewhere.
Well, that moving grocery store, that was reality for early humans for a long time. And to really get this, you gotta understand the two major phases of the Stone Age. First, you've got the Paleolithic, the Old Stone Age. Think nomadic, think hunter-gatherers, think a super unstable food supply. But then comes the Neolithic, the New Stone Age, and this is where one single invention, farming, just completely flips the script and makes the food supply stable. And here's the part that's just kind of mind-blowing. Look at the timeline. The Paleolithic age kicks off around 2 million BCE. That means for the vast majority of our time on this planet, we were hunter-gatherers. The switch to farming, the start of the Neolithic age around 8000 BCE, that's like the last few seconds on the clock of human history. It's an incredibly recent development. So to really appreciate just how massive this revolution was, we first have to get a picture of what that older world was really like. What was life like when it was all about being on the move? So back in the Paleolithic, life was all about these small nomadic groups. We're talking maybe 20 to 60 people. That was your whole world. And your one job, your only job really, was survival. That meant you were always searching for food, hunting wild animals, gathering nuts and berries, and living in temporary spots, like caves. The focus wasn't on tomorrow, it was on finding enough to eat for today.
And then, after millions of years of doing things the exact same way, something happens. A shift. A single idea that sparks a revolution that will change everything. And that idea was farming.
So what exactly is agriculture? Well, you can think of it as a two-part deal. Part one is growing crops. The simple but game-changing idea of putting seeds in the ground on purpose. And part two is domesticating animals, basically raising them not just for meat, but for things like milk or even to help you do the heavy lifting. And listen, this is probably the most important thing to get from this whole explainer. Agriculture wasn't just about having more food, it was the first domino. It set off this incredible chain reaction that totally remade human society. Once that first domino fell, it led right to permanent homes, bigger communities, brand new jobs, and eventually, the start of trade. Let's walk through it. All right, let's follow that chain. We're starting with that very first consequence, that first domino, moving from caves to actual communities. Now, this might sound simple, but you really can't overstate what a massive deal this was. For the first time, ever, people didn't have to constantly chase their food. They could actually stay put down roots, build a real home. And you see this change in everything. Think about it. In the Old Stone Age, your shelter is a cave, maybe a tent. In the New Stone Age, you're building mud brick houses with multiple rooms. Your community goes from a tiny nomadic band to a big, settled village like Jericho. And defense? It's not just you and your small group anymore. Now you've got whole communities working together, building huge stone walls for protection. It's a whole new ballgame. And this ability to live together in one place, it was a total game changer. It meant people could cooperate on a much bigger scale. They could start dividing up the work. So instead of everyone having to do everything, you could have some people focus on farming, while others focus on building or making tools. Everything just got safer and way more efficient. Okay, so that newfound efficiency, that leads us right to the next domino in the chain. People starting to have jobs that weren't just about finding food. Yeah, this really nails it. I mean, think about it. When you're not spending every single second of your day just trying to figure out where your next meal is coming from, you suddenly have time. You have energy. You have the freedom to get really good at something else. And we see this happening at real archaeological sites, like Catalhoyuk over in modern-day Turkey. Suddenly, society isn't just one size fits all. You've got your farmers, sure, but you also have people becoming expert weavers, making cloth. You have tool makers, basket makers. You even have stone workers polishing stones just to make jewelry. Life was just getting so much more complex and, frankly, more interesting. So, what happens next? You've got all these different communities, and they're all getting really good at making different stuff. And that leads us to the final domino in our chain reaction, the beginning of trade. And the reason why is super simple, right? Maybe your village is fantastic at growing food, but the stone in your area is terrible for making tools. But another village, maybe 100 miles away, they've got amazing flint. So what do? You start to trade. And just like that, you have the beginning of a connected world. And they were trading for all kinds of cool stuff. You had practical things like that flint for tools, or obsidian, which is this black volcanic glass they used for super sharp blades and even mirrors. But they were also trading for, well, luxury items, things like beautiful shell ornaments or a red ore called hematite that they actually used as makeup. But here's the biggest thing, and maybe the most important consequence of all. When those traders traveled, they weren't just carrying rocks and shells. They were carrying ideas. They brought new technologies, new stories, new ways of doing things. These trade routes, they basically became the ancient world's first internet, connecting different cultures and spreading knowledge like wildfire. So let's just wrap this up. When you step back, it is truly incredible to think that this whole cascade of change, permanent homes, big communities, new jobs, trade, the sharing of ideas, all of it, every single bit, started with that one single innovation. Agriculture didn't just change the world, it basically built the world as we know it. So yeah, the farming revolution gave us, well, it gave us civilization. It laid the foundation for pretty much everything we have today. But it's worth asking one last question, isn't it? In gaining all of this, what did we lose? What parts of that older nomadic way of life did we leave behind? Definitely something to chew on.